Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Great. Welcome, everyone. Tonight we're discussing how to save money and reduce stress when preparing for college. I'm Vicki Vollweiler from College Financial Prep, and we also have with us Melissa Schwartzman from Melissa Beth Counseling. So a little bit about me. I work with parents, helping them save money on the cost of college. We do this through projecting costs, researching colleges, the college list, and making sure that you have schools that are going to be financially feasible for your family. We also look at financial aid. We're planning strategically to make sure you're best positioned to apply for financial aid, scholarship searches, filing appeals, changes in circumstances, negotiating with the schools, student loans, and then I also work with families through college and graduate school. Melissa, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Schwartzman from Melissa Beth Counseling, and I work with individuals, couples, and families on relationship issues and any life transitions. And so I do a variety of things, whether it's just counseling or helping people with co-parenting issues and anything related also to healing and repairing and anything with the divorce process.
Yeah, and if anybody is interested who is divorced, I do have a book on Amazon, College Planning for Divorced and Widowed Parents. Just so, in case anybody should be interested in that. So let's talk a bit on how to save money on the cost of college. As Ben Franklin said, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So we're going to be discussing ways to reduce college costs. So let's talk quickly about the college and financial aid timeline from the end of junior year, basically now through senior year in high school. Junior year, we're going to research colleges, project college costs for what your likely costs will be when your children do go to school. You should be visiting colleges, or at least, if not in person, virtually, and also taking the SAT and ACT. During this summer is when the Common App and essays will open. August 1st is the date. So your students should be working on their essays now. Come this fall, financial aid applications open October 1st. That's not when they close. A lot of people get that confused. They open October 1st, senior year. Then after the applications are done, the financial aid applications, if you haven't already, start searching for those scholarships. You could search through the schools. You could search for private scholarships. There are lots out there. In the spring is when you'll start receiving from the colleges that your student was accepted to, you'll receive their financial aid award letters. This is a great time to start comparing, what each school is offering, and also a time to file appeals. And then come next summer, after the students have graduated, that's the time to take out student loans if needed before the kids head into their freshman year. So now, how to reduce the cost of college? Well, first, you need to know what all the costs are. And I'm not going to say that this is all the costs, but it's more than people usually think of. So you have the traditional tuition and room and board if the kids are living on campus. There are always miscellaneous fees, books, computers, other supplies, but there are also fraternity and sorority costs. Don't forget travel expenses, tutoring, even senior year, you have the college application fees, the cost to set up a dorm room. Of course, the kids need spending money, the cell phone, there's dorm insurance, there's also tuition insurance. Dorm insurance, you may want to check with your homeowner's policy to see if you need the dorm insurance. But yeah, lots of different costs to consider. Now, in order to save money, College Financial Prep utilizes what I call the goals system. G, you're generating a college list. College list should definitely have some schools that will be financially feasible for your family. Not all $100,000 a year schools. October 1st for O, financial aid forms. That's when they open. A, you want to analyze those financial aid awards and then negotiate with the colleges. L, you're going to look for more money with those scholarship searches. And that can be done all throughout senior year. You could start at junior year. And then again, all through college. And then S is securing those student loans. So with generating a college list, It's important to consider how much money you're able to put towards college costs to cover all 4 years for each child. Typically, and you may already know these terms, when you're developing a college list, you should have on the list reach schools, target schools, and safety schools. I also like to say you should have financially friendly schools on the list too. Typically, it's going to be the safety schools that are going to offer your children the most money in merit aid. The reach schools, everybody wants to go to the reach schools. They don't necessarily need to offer any merit scholarship money. So now how do we find free money? First, we're going to talk a little bit about merit scholarships, and then we're going to talk about need-based aid. For merit scholarships, most of the money is going to come from the colleges themselves, and it's awarded for a variety of reasons, not just academics. It could be because your child is the leading French horn player in the band. It could be because they are attending college in a different region in the country. It could be for academics and they're entering an honors program. It could be because they have a great SAT or ACT score for that school and they're awarded merit money. It could be that they are choosing a major that's new to the school and the school wants to entice your student to go there to be in that major. So lots of different reasons. Then there's also need-based aid. And this is where you have to complete the financial aid forms. So this can include the FAFSA and any state financial aid forms. It could include the CSS profile and any institutional forms that the colleges have. So first, we're going to talk about FAFSA and why everyone should submit FAFSA. I always recommend it no matter how much a household earns. You file FAFSA to apply for need-based aid. You file FAFSA to apply for student loans, federal student loans. You use FAFSA to apply for work-study programs. And then sometimes financial situations can change. And it's good to have FAFSA on file if a situation comes up and you're asking the school to re-review your situation.
Vicki, I'd like to add something. Parents often don't know that sometimes if you don't do the FAFSA and you're actually given a merit award from the university, sometimes you're not able to get it if you didn't fill out the FAFSA. So it's really important to
Very,
keep that
very
in mind.
true. Very true. So what is FAFSA? It's the free application for federal student aid. This is what the federal government uses to determine if they will help pay for college. Also, many states and the colleges themselves also use the FAFSA to determine which students get financial aid and how much they'll get. So first, the government reviews your FAFSA application, and then the schools will review your FAFSA application. And depending on your state, sometimes your state will look at it too. The FAFSA asks for information about the student and the family's finances, including tax returns, bank account balances, investments, business ownership. So a lot of people will say to me, so how does FAFSA work? Do I get money from FAFSA? FAFSA is just an application. You can list up to 20 colleges at a time on the FAFSA application, and then the form is reviewed by the federal government. They determine if your household qualifies for federal financial aid, such as the Pell Grant or work study or subsidized student loans. And then about a week or two later, your colleges will receive the FAFSA application. And that's when your college will also review your application and determine how much money in financial aid the college will offer you. So some of you may be familiar with the term expected family contribution. This term was changed to student aid index. And a lot of people ask, well, what is that? It's not actually the amount of money that you'll pay for college, but it could be. Every college uses a different formula. So let me give you two examples. With school A, they meet 100% of a household's needs. So with the family student aid index, in this case, when you run the formula for FAFSA, comes out to be $10,000 a year. But the cost of attendance at school A is $70,000. That's the sticker price. But you take $70,000 minus $10,000, you're showing that you need $60,000 at this school. But since school A meets 100% of your need, the cost is going to be $10,000. So that's great. Now, school B, they only meet 50% of your need. Everything's still the same. You're still getting $10,000. You still show that you can afford to pay $10,000 per year based on the formulas. The cost of attendance at school B is also $70,000. you're still showing that you need $60,000. But because school B meets 50% of need, they're not going to give you 60,000. They're going to give you 30,000. So if your child wants to go to school B, it's going to cost 10,000 plus 30,000 equals $40,000. So as I said, every school uses a different formula. So it's important to have an understanding when you're going in and setting up your list, how much, projecting costs and how much each school will cost. So now what is work study? Work study is applied for through the FAFSA. Students work at an on-campus job, they receive a paycheck, and the check can be used for the student's spending money. I mean, they can put it towards tuition or something other, but typically they end up using it for spending money. And it's up to the student to seek the position once they're on a college campus. A work study job will not just be handed to them. They have to go seek it out. And a lot of times, especially going into freshman year, parents are hesitant, but the benefits are many. Like, kids get work experience for their resume, they learn time management, and when the job is quiet, homework can be completed. So now, in addition to FAFSA, you should just be aware there are some other financial aid forms. There is what's called the CSS profile. That's not administered by the government like FAFSA is. It is administered by the College Board, the same one that administers the AP exams and the SATs. In addition, there are some states like New York that has their own state-based financial aid form. And then some schools, typically I've seen this with the Ivy Leagues, have their own institutional financial aid forms. Melissa, can you let them in, please?
Yep, I got it.
For the CSS profile, there are about 300 colleges that use the CSS profile. And the schools will also use the CSS profile in conjunction with FAFSA to award grants and scholarships beyond what the government will do. So what is the CSS profile? It provides a more holistic view of a household's finances. It is very, very different from FAFSA. It's much more in-depth. The major differences is that the CSS profile will look at the value of your home and your retirement accounts, whereas FAFSA doesn't. So now we're going to talk about appealing for more money. And I'm going to tell you a quick little story about my broken down heating system. So it was December 31st, true story, happened a few years ago. December 31st, I go down to my basement. There is a flood. The water heater broke, whatever happened down there. Anyway, January 1st, I was fortunate enough to get a couple of people to come in and give me estimates for how to fix this. Got the 2 estimates. I decided to go with the second person that came. I called the first one to thank them for coming on New Year's Day and to tell them that I was going with the other vendor. And the first thing he said to me was, "Can I give you a better price?" Just know, colleges are businesses. You may be able to get a better price. Everything is negotiable. I'm not saying that every single school will negotiate, but it is possible. So types of appeals. You can request additional money just because. And depending on the school, because they're a business and how many seats they have left to fill, they may grant you more money. So just keep that keep that in the back of your mind for when the time comes. And then also special circumstances. People get separated, people get divorced, people lose a job, there may be a medical illness. Somebody, their employment is cut in half, they're losing money, life happens. So in those circumstances, it is possible to go back to the school and to request additional funding. So now I'm going to talk a bit about student loans. Because people aren't aware of this, they don't always even think to ask this up front. But I want you to know, freshmen, they are allowed to borrow from the federal government up to $5,500 per year. Sophomores are allowed to borrow up to $6,500 per year. Juniors and seniors are allowed to borrow up to $7,500 each year. There's no credit history check, no cosigner is needed. But I'm sharing this with you because it's not that much money. Oftentimes, parents will say, oh, my kid wants to go to fancy school XYZ, they could pay for it. No, they really can't get a loan. It's not so easy. Let's continue. So, if your family qualifies for need-based aid, your student, the $5,500 for freshman year, will be entitled to a subsidized loan. So, with a subsidized loan, the interest will not begin to accrue till after graduation. Otherwise, the loans that the students take out, they start accruing interest as soon as you take them out. So that could be as early as freshman year, even though you don't need to start paying them back till after graduation. So then what? How do parents help pay for college? So there are a couple of ways. The parents can take out Parent Plus loans. The student can take out private student loans, but they'll need a parent as a cosigner. People often ask, well, can't my child just be considered an independent on the financial aid forms? No, it's not that easy. There has to be something serious happening, such as the parents are both incarcerated. The child is an orphan. It is very, very difficult to have a child considered independent. Just to go back on this for a bit, with the Parent Plus loans, you may have heard of the Big Beautiful Bill. They have changed the way they're doing student loans for parents. Parents can now borrow up to $20,000 per year, but you don't get a total of $80,000 then for the 4 years. You get $65,000 total for 4 years, however you want to space it out. And that is per student. But something to consider, because after that, then the parents may wish to take out a private loan themselves to help pay for college if need be. So planning ahead, there's divorce, there's widowhood, there's other extenuating circumstances. The key is to be strategic. You want to apply to the right colleges and universities for your situation. If divorced, maybe you want to look for colleges that won't request the other parent's financial information. If finances are limited, it's important to determine your net costs for each college before submitting applications. And if you're looking to receive merit scholarships, you want to analyze your students' academic achievements and match them up with each college to determine who's likely to give those merit scholarship awards. So success stories and failures. The success stories are always the people that plan ahead. I have had clients, literally, I recently had a client, it's a divorce situation, recently had a client where the child did early decision to University of Miami, and they were able to save $60,000 per year. That's almost over 4 years, $250,000. I mean, that's fabulous. Does every client save that much money? No. But I have had clients easily save in the hundreds and even $200,000. It can be done. The clients that are not successful, literally, I had somebody, their child was enrolled in Penn State. Penn State is not known for being generous, by the way, with financial aid. I had somebody heading to Penn State. They called me up the day they were in the car. Classes were starting the next day, and they're asking what they could do to reduce their bill. There is nothing I can do to reduce their bill the day before, heading to school and, classes starting. It all takes time and planning and being informed, so that way you can make the best decisions for your family. So now I'm going to turn it over to Melissa, and she's going to talk about how to reduce stress. And if you have any questions that we haven't discussed, certainly put them in the chat and we'll discuss them in the Q&A.
Great. Thanks, Vicki. Well, Vicki told everybody how we're going to try to save money for college. But now we need to talk about how we're going to get through this with the least amount of stress possible for our students and for all of you as parents. So, how many of you have already had at least one stressful conversation about college in your home? I see most people don't have their camera on, so no need to raise your hand. You can kind of put in the chat. just think about that yourself. So I usually get a lot of people saying that this is happening. So tonight I'm going to address how to reduce stress during the college planning process, supporting student well-being along the way, and ways to reduce stress and improve communication. So research shows that anxiety among teens increased during major life transitions. Students often feel increased anxiety about the future, academic pressure, pressure to succeed, fear of disappointing parents, social comparison, fear of making the wrong choice. We all know social media plays such a significant role in people. I've spoke to many students who have really strong academic standing, leadership activities, and they're still looking around at everybody else saying, I think they've got it together, I might not. So it's really important to realize that they might not be verbalizing this directly to you as parents, but important to know the students are experiencing all of these things. So what do they need most from you as parents? Emotional support, reassurance, perspective, encouragement, and a safe way to talk. Now, we're going to talk next about what's going on for you and how we make these things join together. So you're feeling it too, right? You worry about the child's future, fear of giving the wrong advice, mixed emotions about upcoming changes, and stress about helping your child make important decisions. You're all thinking many of the same things, right? Where should I apply? Where are we going to get in? What should they be focusing on? How many more activities should we be doing? How many times should we take the SAT? Should we just submit the ACT? Should we do this? Should we do that? So you're both experiencing this together, really for similar reasons, but we need to figure out how we can kind of make this less stressful as we go. So next slide, please. So what can you control? You can control how organized you are, managing to the deadlines, to the timelines, many of which Vicki shared on the financial front. Communication. That's always sometimes a big challenge, right? Because teens often are vegging in their room, don't really come out. So when do we get them? We'll talk about that. And some healthy routines. We
Can I
all have
jump in? Yeah, let me just jump in on communication for a bit.
to.
I always encourage communication on the finances. And what I mean by that is if you can share with your child, if you do, if you can't afford 100,000 per year for 4 years, I always encourage talk to your children, maybe set a budget what you can afford. I my hope is that together you're going to set goals so that way you're working together from the beginning as opposed to college decision day coming May 1st of senior year, and parents often have to let their children down when they realize like what their child's dream school is and then the parents can't afford it. So much better to be working together from early on.
And Vicki and I have both had that happen firsthand with families that we've been working with. So it's really good to set reasonable expectations up front. And it's okay to not always think about what exactly is the ranking going to be? What if I don't do this? We can't control those things. We can't control if five people in the graduating class are applying to the same school and people think, oh, will that reduce my chances? We can't get caught up in all that hype. And you certainly can't control if you're going to get admitted to one college or another. So it's really important to not look at everything that's going on social media, comparing your student to others. Realize it's hard. I've been through it myself, but it's really important to focus on what you can control. Control and organization is power. Okay? So we'll all know that your students aren't always going to come to you and say, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. Some may, and that's great. They're verbalizing a very healthy experience, but they may start increasing conflict with you. I think there was somebody who's actually going to college or something like that. They call it spoiling the nest too. Sometimes people are like really, really, really giving a lot of attitude to their parents, but be patient and realize that it's happening. Sometimes it's so overwhelming that there is a lot of procrastination involved. You all said, right, here we go. We have these deadlines, we have these timelines. So we're constantly telling our student, we have this, we have this. And sometimes we might want to ask, why are they not getting started? You may see them withdrawing from family, friends, because they are just so overwhelmed, or they're looking at what everybody else is doing and feeling that they've got it together when everybody else does. And they might be more irritable than the normal hormonal teenagers that we're dealing with regularly. And they also might shift to, I have to get everything right. I've got to get this score on this exam. I've got to get this volunteer hour in, all these things. And another thing to look for, are people not sleeping? Are they not eating? Are they not their same motivation? So some signs to think about. Okay, so we all know this is very stressful. Society has put this on, culture as at what college you go to, lots of things get associated with that. So again, with the well-being, we talked about the sleep and let them do things that they enjoy. We've got to take breaks from thinking about college and college planning, allowing them to spend time with friends to let off some steam and to ask for help when needed. We want them to feel that they can come to parents and have active, good communications. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But look out. So when you're approaching your student, you want to kind of be curious more than directive. An example of that is instead of you should apply here because it's going to give you the best education, your major's the best here, that your commuting from home is going to be better if you don't take in an airplane. How about asking, what are you looking in for a college experience? Why I say this is because it creates stronger conversation. Once somebody feels heard, then they feel like they're going to be sharing more. And that's where this communication we're talking about, we start building some trust. We start then learning more from our students. So they're not thinking one thing and not sharing it, and you're not thinking one thing and not sharing. Kind of going on this process together for a common goal of picking and getting into the right college. And this also helps students to be able to think more critically about their goals when they're thinking about, well, maybe I really want to go to a school that's like a Big Ten school, all this football, all this basketball spirit. But then you know what? It might not be the best major for me. Or you know what? I sometimes can't thrive in a big setting. So all these things keep getting focus. Go to the next slide.
I'm just going to ask quickly, do you hear dog barking or no?
Do not.
Okay, just because the dog is barking upstairs.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thanks for checking, Vicki. So we want to separate your goals from your child's goals. We know you all want security, stability, affordability, practicality, many of the things that Vicki was addressing in her part of the presentation. And students often want to feel like they're going to have some skin in the game. They're going to have some independence. They're going to be able to explore, grow, have all these new experiences. Being away, many are away from home for the first time. They're not going to have everybody kind of thinking about what they're doing every day. So, what you want to really focus on is that you both have similar outcomes. You're just prioritizing them differently. Goal is to work together for a shared understanding. So, what do we do to schedule the college conversations? We want to create some healthy boundaries. It's really good actually to designate that planning time. As we mentioned before, it could really get caught up in every time you get in the car together, every time you're sitting down to dinner, every time that you are going to the mall. So, what you want to do is let's set aside time to talk about college. Let's make sure we're staying on track with those deadlines. And let's not make it all encompassing and an obsession. College-free family time is a good idea. And these check-ins that we're talking about for your family, it could be weekly. Sometimes you might want to have twice a week. It really also depends on what part of the process you are. As we know, as Vicki stated, for those who are rising seniors, August 1st is a very big date because the Common App opens and getting those essays started sometimes provides less anxiety when people might be doing an early action, which usually are around the November time frame, not to mention early decision. So we can talk about that later, but really kind of looking at what the schools you're planning for, as Vicki did a good job of describing, and then checking those timelines. And the clear expectations, I will underline and underscore again. It's good to talk about them from the beginning. Vicki gave a great example of what could happen from a financial perspective, but it also could happen if a parent is very adverse to somebody going very far from school, if it's an airplane that they have to get on, if there are certain things that people are bringing up. It's good to know where people stand from the beginning. Okay, this is a hard one. Listen more than you talk, right? Students want to be heard, but at the same time, they do want to be validated that you're actively acknowledging and listening. You don't have to agree. You don't have to say you're going to do it their way, but at least having them be able to feel heard and understand their perspective and encourage them to share more. It's not always about, well, we have a solution here. These three schools are going to be the best ones for you, and this is why. And what do you mean you're thinking about this major? You should really be doing a different major. And then Sally in your class, she's already doing 5 volunteer opportunities and you're not, doing this. And then, oh, you're doing the same thing you always do, procrastinating. We want to try to refrain from those things. We want to try to get, like we had said, to get people to have this open communication and this listening. Acknowledgement goes a long way. And we're talking a lot, and I bring this up because when I deal with students and families I often hear, well, this person's applying here, this person last year got in, this person from my class is applying here, and 4 others, so I might not get in. What if I want to do a school that doesn't have a lot of big sports? And what if I want a small liberal arts? So every student has a different path. And as we've been saying, every family has different priorities, whether they're financial, geographic, or, everybody in the family's gone there. This is a legacy situation. So every college journey looks different. And that is fantastic to remember and to stay focused on what your student and family needs to look for. So no comparison. Uh, Keep college in perspective. You've heard me kind of say this many times in many ways because there's many paths to success. One thing families get caught up in is, does the college decision define your future? If I go to $100,000 sticker school because maybe they're known for pre-med or they're known for communications, will that mean that if I don't go there, that I'm not going to have as big of a success to take any of those careers on? It is not a defining moment. And growth matters more than prestige. Sometimes we have many, very success stories where somebody might be going to a school that's not always on the limelight or that's in the social media, right? Everybody wants. I mean, University of Maryland wasn't as exciting till they got into that new division for the sport. And now like that is accelerated and it goes in and out as we know. So well-being matters. You want to find the right place for your student and for your family.
Can I jump in here?
Yes.
Let me just say this. No matter what college your students go to, it's up to them to seek out the opportunities. Sometimes being a big fish in a small pond may be better for your student, and sometimes reverse. But no matter what, they're going to need to go find those opportunities for growth. It doesn't matter what college, really.
I echo your sentiment, Vicki. Okay, I think we're next. So here are the key takeaways. Focus on what you control and don't stay focused on a lot of things that you can't. Watch for your students. Make sure that you don't see any changes in them and be a little patient with them. Protect what they're doing. Make sure they're eating properly and sleeping and doing all the things that they typically do. And that lead with curiosity. Let's be open to listen and then not go right to a solution. Let's talk through some options together. And we all talked a lot about keeping these college decisions in perspective because we've seen it so many times, Vicki and myself, that really the right school ends up being in the path and ends up at the end of the day being decided after all the stress and all the applications and all the back and forth. People usually land very successfully. All
So
right,
now,
what's next?
what's next? So how can college financial prep help you plan for college and help you save money? I always offer a free 10-minute strategy call for anybody that's interested. You can schedule it on our website at www.collegefinancialprep.com. Click the blue button to schedule a call. Also, I mentioned earlier, book on Amazon, College Planning for Divorced and Widowed Parents. And we also have starting our monthly Sunday strategy sessions that will help people save money on the cost of college. Each month will be a different topic, so that way you don't skip a step. And also, we offer one-on-one, 1 hour strategy sessions. And that way we can dive into your finances.
Right. And I can jump in by helping. You can schedule a free consultation with me as well to discuss your student and family's unique needs and goals, and I could give additional support and guidance, and also help along the way with learning strategies to manage stress, anxiety, and emotional challenges that often accompany the college transition for many reasons. Not everybody's family the same, not every student reacts the same. I work also with neurodivergent students, so I'm here to help on the emotional side.
We want to thank everyone for joining us today. We're also going to have Q&A now for anybody that wants to ask questions, but also here's information. You can reach out to Melissa at melissabethcounseling@gmail.com and find her online, www.melissabethcounseling.com. And you can find me at Vicki@collegefinancialprep.com, or find the website, www.collegefinancialprep.com. So let me stop sharing, and then
We have some questions on your side of the house. So first, the slide deck will be available after the presentation.
yes,
And
we're going to send it by email to everyone. If not tomorrow, hopefully by Tuesday. It is
And
coming.
go and Vicki, going back when you were doing the example A and B for what comes out with financial costs, so I want to know, how do we know which school uses which formula on the needs-based aid?
That is really difficult. Um, every school uses a different formula. Um, it's really important to project costs. Um, you're not going to know who's doing 50%, who's doing 60%. Check out the college's website. You should be able to find calculators there that can help.
And Vicki, we got another one for you. How do we know which colleges won't ask for both divorced parents' financial info, and maybe even more simply put, when going to the FAFSA when you have a divorced family? How does that work? Is it the finances of one parent? If you could explain a little bit about that.
I'm finding the question so I could read it.
Oh,
Give me
Jody
1 second.
Lipper at
How do, how,
725.
how do we know which colleges won't ask for? Okay, so again, if the school is FAFSA only, if the school only requires FAFSA, then it's typically one household, not both parents. And it's going to look for the parent who provides more financial support for the student. Now, if there's remarriage involved, that can impact things. Um, Typically, if the school only requires FAFSA, then it'll be just one of the parents. And if that parent happens to be the one that provides more financial support for the student, and they happen to be remarried, then you're adding a step parent onto that FAFSA, even if the step parent isn't contributing a dime. This is just broad generalizations that I'm giving you right now without diving into, your specifics.
And then I think any program or options for third year students. If whoever asked that, if they can explain.
Yeah, I probably need a little more information on that.
Anto, are you still with us?
Yes. So my question was, my son is in a third year, going to be third year.
Third
So
year,
do we
wait,
get
third
any
year of college or a
third
junior
year
in
of
high school?
college? Third year
Oh,
of college. Okay. So
So
do we
wants to
have any?
transfer?
No, not transfer. Like he continued to the same college, but I want to know, do we have any? Because he's getting a only 20% of his fees through the scholarship. So do we have any option to get more? Uh,
um, uh, there are certainly private scholarship searches that I do often with clients. Um, but if you want, please go online, schedule, book a 10-minute call because there are some questions that I'd want to ask and, find
no
answers.
problem. Okay. Thank you.
Then we
You're welcome.
have, how important is the ACT? I'll let you take it first, Vicki, and I'll see if I want to add anything.
So the ACT and SAT, if your students are good test takers, definitely take it because that could lead to merit scholarship money. If they're not good test takers, there are certainly test optional schools out there. And you could submit it to some schools, not submit it to other schools. And it really depends. And then sometimes people will say, and I'm just making this up, my kid got a 1300, is that a good score? Or my kid got an 1100, is that a good score? Well, you know what? It really depends on what schools they're applying to. Because some schools, a 1300 could be fabulous. In other schools, it may not be high enough to get in. It all depends on the colleges. Every college is different. Their admissions requirements are different. Their financial formulas are different. Each school is independent. So, certainly, if your child is a good test taker, take the tests, even if they're not such a great test taker, but they're applying to a whole bunch of safety schools and you're searching for that merit scholarship money, definitely take the tests because those scores may really help out.
And then I guess I say on the flip side, agreeing with everything you said, that if you do not have a good test taker, it's not worth the stress because there's many families that go through this process, SAT included, and it causes more stress than anything. And there are a lot of test optional schools, and if they are one, then they're not going to be penalized for not having scores.
Right. You could go to fairtest.org and and see a list of schools that are test optional.
I think that is what I saw in the chat.
Does
Are there
anybody
any
else have
live
questions?
questions? That means we did a really thorough job, right?
Yeah, if anyone else has a question you want to
And
ask, we're here.
feel free to ask anything related to, college, emotional well-being. Okay. I'm gonna double check the chat. I don't know, Vicki, you with me, you didn't see anything, right?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. And certainly, if you have questions, whether on the financial side or the stress reducing side from Melissa, certainly feel free to reach out to us. And we will send you the recording hopefully within the next couple of days. Wait, I see one new message. Let's see.
Jen said thank you.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. Okay, have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.